If the Boston Celtics are looking to make upgrades, there is only a slim possibility that they can do so. They can either combine a bunch of their low-end contracts with Payton, Pritchard, Luke Kornet, Sam Hauser, Oshae, Brissett, those type of guys to upgrade, or they can use the coveted Grant Williams TPE that the Celtics received this offseason. And I believe that the Boston Celtics will use this TPE to explore trade options at the trade deadline. And we have three particular trade options that are provided by a certain Celtics Reddit user that we're going to break down, fitting in on how they would fit in with the Boston Celtics and how impactful their role would be if they join their team. We'll be breaking down this on this episode of Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz, but before we get into any Boston Celtics content, I would like to say shout out to you guys for hitting that subscribe button. We recently just hit 2,400 subscribers and we're well close to getting to our goal of 3,000. So if you guys want to make sure you stay up to date on everything Boston Celtics news, trades, rumors, live streams, everything related to the Celtics, make sure to hit the subscribe button as we upload Celtics content daily, and no other Boston Celtics content channel can provide that type of daily content. But let's get into the news at hand today. Make sure to grab a snack and get ready, as it is a jam-packed episode. But before we dive into these trade rumors, I would like to say one thing and one thing only, and that is happy birthday to Larry Legend. If you guys do not know, it's Larry Bird's birthday. He turned 67 today. So I would like to say shout out to you, Larry Legend. Thank you so much for doing so much for the Boston Celtics. We greatly appreciate you and everything that you've done for our franchise, and we hope you have a great day today. But let's dive into the news at hand, talking about the Celtics getting some bench upgrades. And if you guys missed it, I made a video earlier this week talking about some potential Celtics upgrades that I would like to see at the bench. As we've mentioned, they can only get guys really through the TPE or by combining contracts, and I think using the TPE is the best available thing. As we've seen, Sam Hauser and Al Horford have stepped up tremendously for this bench so far, and a guy like Payton Pritchard hasn't stepped up that greatly for the Celtics bench. He's had some spurts where he's looked solid, but I think throughout the regular season he's going to find his role, find his groove, and I think he'll be okay for this bench unit. So having one more other guy for this bench is going to be solid. We've talked about how and we could look at a guard, we could look at a wing, we could look at a big, and in this we have a little bit more of a combination of all three, looking at three different guys that could help out the Boston Celtics. And first we're going to be looking at this guy, and that is Saddiq Bey. So by far this guy on Celtics Reddit says, by far the sexiest name on the list. Bey is a 6'7" shooter who could work on some of the finer points of the NBA basketball, like defensive positioning and passing for effect. That being said, there's no denying his natural talent as a scorer/shooter. Why the Hawks would trade Saddiq Bey? The Hawks are kind of locked into their current roster. They have around $143 million invested into 6 guys next season. They also have a handful of younger guys they really like on smaller, more movable deals, but not enough to re-sign Bey. Bey is a young RFA and plays on one of the most desirable roles as a wing shooter, and if Atlanta manages to move Hunter or Bogdanovich for no money back, it may justify being competitive with Bey. It really feels like Bey is the odd man out here, and Atlanta spent 5 second-round picks to bring Bey in, and if they're cutting losses, they may trade him for a few second-round picks. Why he would be a fit for the Boston Celtics? I'm guessing all contenders would be interested in Bey as a rental, which is what he'd be for the Celtics. He fits perfectly into the Grant Williams TPE, so he could be traded for a handful of seconds and no player going back. Adding a rotation-level shooter at the forward position would help with Al and KP and Ben inevitably needing nights off. And I couldn't agree more with this Reddit post. Saddiq Bey is a solid wing scorer for this Atlanta Hawks team. He was still great on the Detroit Pistons, and like he said, the Atlanta Hawks really got him for a bunch of second-round picks. So if the Atlanta Hawks were looking to move off of a wing in Saddiq Bey because they have guys in DeAndre Hunter, Bojan Bogdanovic, Jaylen Johnson, other wings that they want to keep and extend on their team, Saddiq Bey could be a nice guy that they can move off of. If we want to look at Saddiq Bey's stats so far this season, in 20 games he's averaging 12.8 points, 5.9 total rebounds, 1.2 assists, off of better shooting numbers as well, 51% from the field, 40% from 3, 80% from the free throw. Personally, I really like Saddiq Bey. He was a nice wing at Villanova, when I went to school at Seton Hall and got to see him play against the Seton Hall Pirates, and he would dominate against us. So I know how his style of play is, and I think he'd be a great fit for the Boston Celtics. Like this guy mentions, obviously with having Sam Hauser being there, he's a great wing forward. But with Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis, having some injuries or, taking those back-to-backs off for Al Horford, having a nice other wing like Saddiq Bey would be a solid scoring option for the Boston Celtics. Even though he's not the greatest defender, I still think he would be a viable piece and could be a solid bench piece for this rotation going into the playoffs, and would definitely get some play in the playoffs as well. We want to look at another guy that this guy mentions. We talk about another big that we could talk about, and that is Precious Achiuwa. Precious Achiuwa is a good energy big who seems to have hit his ceiling early in Toronto. He's had visually no improvements from the last 3 seasons. He's not a bad player, but his upside is a big question. With a little polish, he could be a very valuable defender, rebounder, and hustle beast. Why Toronto would trade Achiuwa? Toronto is in a weird place where they have a handful of decent players that they like are under contract, but one big piece away. If you have your main guys in place, Achiuwa would be the kind of guy you can go and retain. He's a decent rotation player, but he hasn't gone significantly better than his rookie year. They tried to give him a 3-point shot last year, and it just didn't work, and he's also a restricted free agent and would be taking the biggest deal possible. With Podol getting an extension, Barnes the obviously heir apparent, and Siakam potentially staying, it doesn't make sense to give Achiuwa a big deal. Toronto needs flexibility, and trading Achiuwa for some kind of asset is more valuable than retaining him at a premium price. The fit on the Celtics is similar to Bay. Achiuwa fits into the Celtics Grant Williams TPE, and the Celtics could definitely be in the market for a big man depth. Even with Kornet and Kemba playing decently, injury assurance like Achiuwa would be great, and depending on Al's playing future, Achiuwa could be a rental or could be worth extending. I agree with this post here as well. I realistically really like Precious Achiuwa. I liked him in college, and even though we got drafted to the Miami Heat and then traded to the Toronto Raptors for Kyle Lowry, he hasn't been able to realistically grow for them. He was supposed to be, I believe, their, starting 5 that they had potential and wanted to see him grow to kind of replace Pascal Siakam or be that guy. But then they traded for Jakob Poeltl, signed Jakob Poeltl over this offseason. They obviously have Scotty Barnes, who's a 4 or a 3, wherever you want to play him alongside, but they also have a logjam in their forward position. They also got guys in Pascal Siakam, who's been in the trade rumors of possibly maybe even being extended and staying with the team. Same thing with OG Anunoby, another wing that they have, possibly being traded or extended. So the Toronto Raptors are in a big question mark pool right here. And with having young guys like OG Anunoby and Scotty Barnes, I would think that they would maybe try to move off Precious Achiuwa, especially since he's a restricted free agent, since they cannot keep him if they already have guys like Jakob Poeltl, Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby that they want to keep. A guy like Achiuwa, who's going to be looking for the biggest bag possible, might be a possibility to leave. And if the Boston Celtics were to nab him in the Grant Williams TPE, I think it'd be a great filler, like this Reddit user says. As he says, obviously, having him as a nice backup 4 or 5 for Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis could be a nice role for him to fill, getting some rebounds, being a nice hustle big for the Boston Celtics. If we want to look at his stats, we can see in 15 games total played, he's averaging 7.4 points, 5.9 total rebounds, and 2 assists on 44% shooting, 26% from the 3 and 56% from the free throw. Obviously, he's not a great 3-point shooter, and his numbers are a little bit down on the shooting side this season, but I still think he'd be a valuable piece to play inside the paint and be a valuable defender for this Boston Celtics team as well. And like he said in this Reddit post, the Celtics were to like Precious Achiuwa and he were to kind of fill in his role and be a better piece, the Celtics could extend Achiuwa on a smaller deal and then look to move off of Al Horford in the future if they feel that is necessary, as they think Achiuwa is the nicer replacement for Al Horford and just a younger piece. And the last guy we're going to be looking at today in these trades is Kira Lewis Jr. Kira Lewis Jr. was a lottery pick from New Orleans who has not panned out. Billed as a lightning quick PG out of college, he got to New Orleans and hasn't been able to crack the rotation. And this is why New Orleans would look to trade him, since he obviously hasn't cracked the rotation. I doubt New Orleans has any interest in paying Lewis his $7.9 million qualifying offer or extending him. They've been hit with injuries, but still haven't found enough time to invest in him, with Jose Alvarado and Jordan Hawkins leapfrogging him for development time. I'm guessing New Orleans would take just about anything for Lewis at this point. Something is going on where they don't see him as part of their future despite spending a lottery pick on him. The fit with the Celtics is Lewis could be a really great guy, buy low, sell high target. I really liked his game out of college. He was lightning fast and had the makings of a great driving quick point guard. He also showcased the ability to drive and make pull-up shots before his defender could recover. I don't always advocate for project players, but I think Lewis has got a blank opportunity in New Orleans. Bringing him in and signing to him a cheap 3-season development deal similar to Hauser or Banton deals could be really good in a few years. Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum will be making more than $100 million between the two of them. We should be looking for cheaper talent. And I agree with this one as well. Kira Lewis is a nice young guard from New Orleans, like he said, that hasn't been getting a lot of playing time. He also forgot to mention that the New Orleans Pelicans also have a guy in Dyson Daniels who's actually been getting some playing time as well. And they also have some young wings in Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson. So they have their young core already figured out. And Kira Lewis obviously just didn't crack that rotation. He probably got his opportunities, didn't fit in right away. And then they've obviously drafted better guys like Jordan Hawkins, Jose Alvarado, who kind of fit their culture, fit their timeline, and they're more realistically to run with those guys. Like I said, Kira Lewis is a young project player who could play alongside Payton Pritchard at the guard position and actually be a solid guard. Like he mentions, Kira Lewis is a nice driving kick-out point guard, which is the Celtics' main priority on offense. If we've noticed, the Celtics like to drive to the rack, kick out for three, and settle for that three-pointer. Kira Lewis could be a great playmaker for that, be a great playmaking facilitator. And like I said, Payton Pritchard has had some great playmaking abilities, but his best performances are shooting off the ball. And if Payton Pritchard can focus more on that with having another point guard actually facilitating the offense, I think it could actually help out the Boston Celtics offense. We want to look at Kira Lewis's stats. Obviously, he's not in this rotation. He's not really getting a lot of playing time, even with the injuries for this New Orleans Pelicans team. In 11 games played, he's averaging 3.5 points, 0.9 total rebounds, 1.6 assists. Obviously, field goals percenting low, 32%, 13% free throw, 88%. Personally, Kira Lewis is probably the lowest out of these three guys on my personal list of bringing in, but I think he would be the easiest to attain and probably the less amount of capital that you have to give up to obtain for the Boston Celtics. Personally, I think Saddiq Bey is the best option for the Celtics. Then I think Precious Achiuwa is the second best, just because I feel like Precious Achiuwa could leave in the offseason. And then Kira Lewis being the third, just because he is a little bit of a potential, and you have to buy into that. And with the Celtics having a team that obviously wants to contend and wants to compete, I don't know if that's the route that they want to go. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Who do you guys want to see the Boston Celtics go after if it's not one of these three guys? And out of these three guys, who do you guys want to see the Boston Celtics attain the most out of that Grant Williams TPE? I know Saddiq Bey would be a great move for the Boston Celtics, and since we have plenty of second-round picks from those Jordan Walsh draft trade night, we can definitely move off some of those second-round picks to bring in a guy like Saddiq Bey. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think. I always appreciate the comments. And if you guys are at this point in the video and still not subscribed to Celtics Digest, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as we know you guys enjoy the content. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. I'm Bruce Velez, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.